Hello, welcome. So today we're going to be looking at some r/am I the bort hole. So if you want to judge some gaping bort holes with me today, then please do stick around and enjoy. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Thank you. Oh my god. Okay then, lords, ladies and thadies, what's the first story today? Okay, so the title of this one is I told my friend why I don't want to date him, and our friends are saying that I broke him. Am I the butthole? I can see where this is going already. So, my 21F friend of 10 years, Mark, not real name, 23M, called me yesterday to meet him for lunch and that he had something important to discuss with me. I had free time, so I agreed. I met him already there and joined him. We had lunch, then we talked a little about random things. Then he cleared his throat and started speaking. That's where my gut would have shot into my butt because I would already be thinking, where is this going? Oh no. To be honest, there's nothing worse when anyone says to you, oh, can we meet up? Because I've got some things I need to discuss with you. And it's always like, oh no, what's wrong? He first told me that he didn't understand why I was dating my new boyfriend when he's a better match for me. For frickin' hell's sake, Mark! I asked him to explain, and he basically went on about how he liked me first and he met me first. He's more good looking and knows me better. Mark, you can't just be like a child who goes, I licked it, so it's mine. I saw it first, so it's mine. That's not how humans work. He's taller than my boyfriend and more successful, which is not true in a way. My boyfriend works, aside from growing up in wealth, while Mark's entire life is funded by his parents' money. LOL. Aha. Yep, this definitely reeks of Nepo baby behaviour, to be fair. He told me he doesn't understand how I can be with him when he's always been around waiting for me. I was out of words and asked him if he wanted me to be honest, to which he said yes. I told him that I would never want to date him given how I've seen the way he treated his past girlfriends. He ghosts them when he feels like it and just expects them to be there waiting. I told him he's too immature and irresponsible for me and that dating him would be exhausting. I also explained that the reasons I mentioned was why over time I started putting a distance to our friendship because I didn't like the way he treated the women in his life. When I was done, he was just quiet. He just excused himself and left. I went home and went about my day. Later in the evening, our other friends started asking what I did to Mark and that he's been a wreck since he met me for lunch. I mean, he just heard some home truths and got rejected. Like, calm down, Mark. You've been a bit dramatic. He's drinking and not telling anyone what happened. Yeah, because he's probably not used to being told no. I explained to them what happened and they are saying I was harsh and that I broke him, blah, blah, blah. But I think someone had to tell him the truth. So Reddit fam, am I the butthole? No, not at all. And I bet he's going around crying about being in the friend zone. I saw a comment somewhere ages ago where someone said that yeah, blokes think it's bad being in the friend zone, but imagine thinking you have a friend and actually the whole time they were just trying to find a sneaky way to get in your underwear. And it's so true. Like these type of guys, they moan about the friend zone and things like that. And it's like, dude, you literally are admitting you never actually cherish this person as a true friend and you were just trying to figure out a way to get in their pants. Edit. I know everyone says this, but whoa, I didn't think this post would blow up so much. I'm trying to get through the comments and answer some questions that are there. Was sort of occupied the whole day, so I just opened Reddit. Thank you all for the comments, honestly. Edit 2. I'm so overwhelmed by the comments in a good way. Most are really funny. I've been laughing so much I woke my sister's baby. If you wake the baby, you deal with the awake baby. That's the rules. I've sent my post to my friend, not associated with Mark, and our group chat is blowing up with more laughter. Honestly, any friends that are actually on Mark's side and saying that you're such a bad person for, you know, just turning him down for absolutely legitimate reasons. And to be honest, you don't even need to have a reason. If you don't want to date someone, you don't want to date them. But anyone saying like, you're so horrible, you've broken Mark, get rid of them. Like, you don't need people like that in your life. But in all seriousness, I'm thankful for the great comments and people giving advice on my safety. I'll definitely be more aware of my surroundings going forward. I don't know Mark as a violent person, but then again, this incident has proved that I may not know him like I think I do. I mean, yeah, the fact that he's been rejected and now he's apparently like sitting in his house, drinking himself into a stupor over a rejection. This man has never been told no in his life, has he? He's just been giving everything he wants. And yeah, people like that are a little bit, it's a bit iffy on whether they're dangerous or not, because some people, and I've watched a few too many true crime documentaries, I fear, because of this, but like, I feel like it's kind of common knowledge that people that are like that get given everything and then they're told no, can be very volatile. And it's quite concerning. So I would definitely be cautious about that one. Mark is currently blocked from everything. Our mutual friends who were supporting him and calling me out are also blocked. Fabulous. That is what I like to read. And this is also a learning lesson to me to distance myself a lot more quicker next time I see red flags in future friendships. Thank you again, Reddit fam. If anything happens, I'll update you all, and I'll still be reading all the comments and answering what I can. Right, let's have a little nosy at the comments then, shall we? Catherine Sedai says, not the butthole. Even if you had kinda liked him, I feel like declaring his feelings by being rude about your current partner is such a turn-off. To be honest with you, I feel like declaring your feelings when someone has a current partner is a turn-off anyway, because it shows a complete lack of respect. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they could have the shitiest boyfriend going, but you wait until that's over at least before you start declaring feelings. I just feel like that's a real crappy thing to do when you know someone's already in a relationship. He doesn't say anything meaningful or romantic about you, just that he thinks he's better than your actual boyfriend, so you should date him instead. So entitled, literally. And then Sudden Childhood 824 says, right, like it's a competition with another guy and he forgot the end goal. Maybe compliment the woman you are after instead of complimenting yourself vis-a-vis her boyfriend. So tone deaf and zero self-awareness. This dude sounds like such a douche, honestly, yeah. And then Super Duper Goose says, it's the I met you first comment for me. Literally, that's exactly what I said. So does that mean my mum's OBGYN has dibs on me? Get out of here with that bull crap. Honestly, that was the bit that cracked me up the most, like the really petulant childish, but I met you first. Like, so, they're a whole ass human being, my friend. You can't decide that you own a human because you were first to lay eyes upon them. That is wrong. Next post, am I the butthole for telling my wife why our daughter doesn't trust her? Lurker here. So for the last few years, me, 36, and my wife, 34, have had a very strained relationship due to the way my daughter and wife interact. It started when my daughter was 13. She came to her mother and confided her feelings about our family friend's son. My wife decided that this was, I'm assuming that meant to say too cute not to share, and told everyone during a family barbecue, including the boy. What is wrong with her? Oh my goodness. This embarrassed my daughter and I told my wife to stop as this made our daughter upset. But my wife just justified it at the time because they were just kids. I hate people that do that. Like, your kids confide in you and then you tell everyone because it's a funny story that you'll get attention for. Because that's all it was. This was actually just the wife using this too cute of a story to get attention for herself. I've always known my wife has a hard time keeping secrets, but I thought she would have at least tried since this was a touchy subject, especially for a growing teenager with her first real crush. After this incident, I started noticing things like this more, like my wife openly telling everyone our daughter's business. That's so odd. That's so odd. I had to email one of my kids' teachers about something, like an issue, and I actually sat there and said, look, let me read this email to you first and you tell me if you're okay me telling them these things. And it was nothing big. It was literally nothing big or secret. But in my personal opinion, one, if I ever want them to tell me something that is a secret, my voice is going again. Excuse me. If I ever want them to tell me like any bigger secrets where they might be in danger or someone might be harming them, and I want them to be able to feel comfortable to tell me that. I need to show them that I am a safe person to tell things to. But like, if you go ahead and tell your kids stuff to everyone, they're not going to think you're a safe person to tell things to. And not only that, it has a knock-on effect on how they navigate relationships with other people. And so if you are showing kids that, you know, you tell me something and I will not tell others if you ask me not to, they are then going to go and offer other people that same courtesy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just think it's so weird to just blast your kids' stuff all over everywhere for attention. It's very odd. Anyway, let's continue reading. I went on a ramble. What's new? Admittedly, most of these incidents were unnoticed by me for years because they were usually conversations between my wife and her friends when I wasn't around, as she didn't like it when I interrupted girl time. However, I am noticing more now, like my wife telling everyone about my daughter's business, like texts, phone calls, and other secrets that she's told her mum in the past when believing they wouldn't be told. She's going in her phone and then telling people what she's texting and stuff. What? Oh, no. Do you know what? I'm getting like a flashback to that documentary I watched the other day about that mum who was like bullying her kid over text message for years and years. And I know this isn't that dramatic, but I swear this must be how stuff like that starts, surely. As everything progressed, my daughter started getting closer to me more, and I became the default parent who deals with the medical issues, school drama, and crushes, which has upset my wife because my daughter refuses to have girl talk with her anymore, and is usually cold and doesn't like spending time with her. Yeah, I'd say that's very understandable. Bless her. My wife decided to try and punish our daughter after finding out she got her first boyfriend and wasn't told. Our daughter is 16 now, and I don't feel like it's necessary to punish her for these things when she has made a conscious decision to protect her privacy. Definitely. Because, I mean, I was thinking of like maybe a 12 or 13-year-old. 16-year-old, definitely. If she don't want to tell her mum she's got a boyfriend, she does not need to. As long as she's being safe and, you know, the person's a decent person and dad knows about it and has clearly kept it secret for her, bless him. Yeah, like just being 16 and thinking that it's okay to share a 16-year-old's business like that, like, bless her. I know she still loves her mum, but I understand not sharing things she doesn't want to get spread or blown out of proportion. Oh, honestly, I completely understand. I came home to my wife yelling at our daughter and demanding her phone, her laptop, etc. all over this situation, which it made me very angry because my daughter was in tears and she is still my little girl and doesn't deserve to be punished over something her own mother caused. Exactly. And I think that's why her mother's flipping out like that, you know, because her mum knows it's her own fault and she's feeling guilty and mad at herself, but is probably not emotionally mature enough to deal with those feelings by herself. She's looking for someone to blame for her own crappy parenting. I told my wife to leave her alone and that we would talk, but I also told her to give back the items, which my wife refused on and started screaming at me in front of our daughter, something I don't like. I like to have calm conversations away from our daughter to prevent making her feel scared or uncomfortable. Eventually, after multiple attempts to calm her down so we could discuss this properly, she grabbed my arm and started digging her nails in my skin, and I had had enough by then. I started ranting about how she always told our daughter's business to people and how basically the whole family and friends around us knew everything about our daughter's personal life and medical history. And then I told her it was her fault our daughter doesn't trust her anymore, which made my wife start crying and she locked herself in the bedroom while I started comforting our daughter and went out to get her some dinner. I'm sorry, but reading between the lines on the bit where the OP says she started screaming at me in front of our daughter, something I don't like, that tells me that's happened before, probably many times, judging by the inability of this woman to emotionally regulate herself, and then grabbing the OP's arm and digging her nails in their skin. That's abuse. Full stop. That is abuse. Leave this piece of shite woman. She sounds awful. She's no good for the OP's daughter, and she's clearly no good for the OP. She's abusive and obviously does not like not getting her own way. In my opinion, that's the way I'm seeing it. Tell me if you disagree in the comments. Or just tell me what you think of this one, because yeah, that's what I read from that. That sounds like abusive behaviour, and probably a pattern of behaviour that's been ongoing. But now I'm home, I'm getting some serious silent treatment from my wife, and I'm wondering if I could have possibly said something different, but I'm tired of her blaming our daughter every time she doesn't get told something. Edit. I have read many comments talking about my wife, and I am seriously taking this all in. I really don't want my daughter to think that this is okay for her future husband to treat her this way, so I am requesting my wife attends therapy by herself before she can join me and my daughter in family therapy, because I am not putting my daughter in a situation where her mother will probably use the therapy sessions to punish her, which people have mentioned. If she refuses, I will look into separation, because I have realised my daughter needs her dad to keep her safe, and she won't be safe if her mother is acting this way and normalising this behaviour. I'm scared for my future, honestly, but I am also hopeful that I can show my daughter she is loved and safe. I will be sending my daughter to stay with her aunt for the rest of the week while I have this conversation, because I'm not taking any chances that she'll have to listen to an argument between me and my wife. Very smart. I think that's a really good idea. Honestly, I think the OP sounds like an amazing dad. Like, they've spotted something that's negative. They've brought their wife upon it multiple times. Their daughter's then decided, I'm not going to tell mum anything. And instead of going, oh, you should really tell your mum, she's your mum, OP's gone, no, you're absolutely right, my love. You should not have to tell her anything. And I will show you that we do not stand for this kind of behaviour. But yeah, if it was me and OP was like my brother and they told me this about their partner, I'd be saying they're an abusive piece of shit. Leave them. Personally, because of like, she physically assaulted the OP, digging her nails into his skin, screaming in his face. Obviously screaming in his face, yes, that's not physical abuse, but the digging the friggin' nails in was, and the screaming in his face when she doesn't get her own way, and it sounds like that's something that she has a habit of doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's very worrying. I hope the OP's okay whilst they're having all these talks. So then down in the comments, secret9239 says, not the butthole, but when your daughter gets her devices back, tell her to change all of her passwords to her social media. Her mum is too involved in her business, and this is the true definition of your parent being your biggest hater. She is going out of her way to embarrass your daughter. And then the OP says, don't worry, I got her devices back immediately after the fight because I refuse to punish my daughter for having a life outside of family. I will tell her to change her passwords though. That is something I didn't think about before, but I don't doubt that my wife would try this in a desperate attempt to find things out. Yeah, absolutely. And in a way, I feel like now she's more incentivized to find these things out and tell everyone she knows, even if she knows it's something super sensitive or super private, just to try and punish her daughter for not telling her things. And then Pipsy Pops says, don't be surprised the lengths mothers like this will go to in order to get the information they want. My mother was very demanding of every detail of my life, but she wasn't a blabbermouth. She was incredibly controlling and very critical of everything I did. My mother would go through my room, my rubbish. If I hid anything, she'd go through my room and go ballistic that I dared to hide stuff from her. She'd call my therapist and demand to know everything. She even complained about my therapist maintaining confidentiality to their higher ups. She'd call my friends or their parents demanding information, the school, any and every way she could think of to get information. I totally shut down the older I got, the less I was home because I was so miserable there. And that led to some really dangerous situations and self-harm and a couple of self-offing attempts. I still struggle today because of it. Honestly, it's so important to give them privacy. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm sitting here saying this and I know that I haven't always done it perfectly. Like, there've been a few times where, you know, one of my kids will mention something to me and I'll be like, they'll kind of not give me the whole story, and then I'm pressing, I want to know what's gone on. I need to know what's gone on. And I'm thinking, no, you need to tell me. And it's coming from a place of worry. And then afterwards I'll think, to be honest, did they really need to tell me that bit? Probably not. But I do try and give them a lot of privacy. Like my youngest has a diary, and I'm pretty certain it's just full of pictures, by the way. I'm almost certain, because anytime that they say, oh, I've just been drawing in my diary, like they never say they've been writing in there. Well, very rarely. But I don't even look at that, even though it's like a young child's diary. And I know there's not going to be any glaring secrets in there. I don't look at it because they've asked me not to. And, my oldest, I don't go through their phone without their permission. Like I'll say, can I just have a look at this? They know that I will check the messages now and then, just to make sure that there's nothing untoward going on. But they're very smart anyway. I've given them so many rundowns about dangers of the internet. With being someone who spends a lot of time on the internet, you see too much, and they're very aware of it all, and they're pretty good. And quite often, actually, in an evening, we'll sit down together once the smallest has gone bed, and they'll fill me in on all the gossip. And we have a proper little chin wag about all the gossip, and because they know it's going to go no further than me. But yeah, I'm not a perfect parent. I've messed up before, and the main thing is, if you do mess up and you do something and you think, oh, actually, maybe that wasn't any of my business, or maybe I was a little bit too pushy, you just go up to them and say, I'm sorry if you felt that was too pushy. The ability to recognize when you've been wrong, and the ability to recognize that you need to apologize, and showing them that you'll do that, will help them be that person when they're older too. Do you know what I mean? But no parent's perfect, and we all f**k up sometimes, but this is something else. Am I the butthole for not wanting my boyfriend to factor my son's survivor benefits into our new household budget? My 38F son, 15M, receives $1,100 a month in Social Security survivor benefits from his late father, who passed away when my son was 5. My boyfriend, 40M, and I have been in an on-again, off-again relationship for a long time. Things have been good recently, and he's proposed. We're planning on getting a house together. Okay, just pause for a minute. If anyone says I've been in an on-again, off-again relationship for a long time, red flag. Red flag. You probably should stop and leave that relationship. The warning sign is right there in front of you, my love. The call is coming from inside the house. Literally. We're planning on getting a house together. I have my son and he has 3 children, but only one of his kids would be living with us full time. The house we are looking at is $2,500 a month. My boyfriend proposed budget is for him to pay $950 and for me to pay $950, and for us to use $600 from my son's check for the household. Absolutely not. He suggests we can then put the remaining $500 from the check into savings. Whose savings is he on about, though? Is he on about his own savings? Absolutely not. He'd be out on his end before he could even spell his own name. My current practice is to give my son half of his check, $550, for his personal use, and save the other half for him. I think that since he's almost 17, he should have some control over his money. He's not, he's 15, he's got 2 years to go yet, but absolutely he should have control over his money. It's his money. Or at very least, no one should have control over it, and it should be being put into an account for him to do whatever he will with when he gets to the right age. My boyfriend disagrees completely. Of course he does, because he's a money grabber. He thinks that since we are going to be a family, all the money should be pooled together for shared expenses. He thinks I'm wrong and selfish for not wanting to include the survivor benefits in the main budget. We've been going back and forth on this. I'm feeling incredibly uncomfortable with his expectations. I feel like the benefits are my son's and should not be used to reduce the adult's portion of the bills. It feels like he's trying to make me subsidise the household using money that was meant for my son's care and future, not to pay his own share of the bills. Am I wrong here? No. Is it selfish to keep my son's check separate and manage it for his benefit alone? Or is my boyfriend's financial expectations a red flag for our future together? It's a red flag, and you should absolutely be using that money for your son and your son only. It should be for his benefit, or like I say, saved for him to decide what to do with when he is of the appropriate age. This dude is a money grabber. You need to get rid of him. This isn't going to stop. You say no, it's not going to stop here. So down in the comments, Cool Conversations 938 says big red flag, very big, and red, literally. And then Catfax says, OP, your fiance wants to steal from a teenager the money available to him because of his dead father. Do you want your son to go no contact? Because this is how you get a son that goes no contact. Exactly. You are now at a crossroads, OP. You can decide whether to put your son first or put your boyfriend first. If you decide to put your boyfriend first, expect that your relationship with your son will probably be damaged irreparably. And of course, you'll get the label of a bad mother because you chose a bloke over your son and you chose to let this man steal your son's money. If you do that, that makes you a bad parent. It's plain and simple. This is not a man worth marrying. This is not a man worth knowing. Better to be single than to entangle yourself with somebody so disconnected from common sense and morality. Not the butthole. I concur. Okie dokie, I think that's where we're going to leave it for the day. If you made it all the way to the end with me, then I appreciate you very, very much. If you give a little like, subscribe, notifications on, then that's your initiation into the Cult of Void. Welcome. Whatever it is you're doing for the day, I hope you have a really good rest of the day. Goodbye.